Yeah.
All right, Fa-ish, Sperm, you guys here?
Yeah. Can you hear me? Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Before I start, Fa, let me see if I can start a Maven project on your IntelliJ, because we're gonna need it. So share your screen. So yesterday, Fa's Eclipse wasn't working, so he's gonna switch to a different IDE, but it should be the same more or less. All right.
So I have this thing.
Yeah.
Sh-
So just like
cloud.
so just like how you close that out, and just like how you regularly would have created a new Maven project, try that now with thing. Yeah. You see Maven. All right. All right. So for archetype, let me see if it gives you an option. No, I think you just click next. Yeah. All right. All right. Call this call this our rest
Hey,
rest practice.
oh,
Yeah. Yeah. Just remember that file path right there. You don't remember how to get to it, right? Just in case you ever needed to use the finder to get to it. You use your terminal. I just want to verify that you know how to get to it.
okay. Hold on. How do I start from scratch? Do I don't know where that folder is though. That tilde sign.
Yeah, that tilde sign. You got to use that.
Okay.
So if
do
you want,
like
do tilde first because that's a.
hide your projects.
Yeah. Okay, so that's your Hello World project. So, all right, let's create that one. Rest practice. All right, now go to your Palm, and I'm gonna copy paste a dependency. And Ish and Berm, you guys could do it too. We're gonna need this one dependency. Hang on.
Wait. So what do we gotta do?
I'm gonna copy paste it into Tunes. Hang on.
Do we create a new program?
Yeah, call it rest practice like Fa did.
I wasn't paying attention. I thought this was only for Fa.
No, I was just making sure his ID worked, but I think we're good, so we're gonna start.
Wait, did you post it?
I'm gonna do it right now.
Yeah. Or should I? Does it matter where I post it?
Just remember to create a new dependencies plural tag. Right underneath properties is fine.
Under properties?
Yeah, but I think I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah. No, so first create a dependencies plural tag, and within it, yeah. So just Control Z. Or you can do that.
We're making a Maven project, right?
Yeah, Maven project.
Can you run through that again? You go to new, then you go to other, right?
Yeah.
New other, then Maven. You do Maven project.
Yeah, and just remember to tick off simple archetype.
Where?
That bottom right alert, click it and hit accept if it's.
Oh, I don't see that because the thing
case it stops.
Group ID?
Say again, Ish?
Group ID, I could just put anything, right? But what should I put?
You could just put code boost. Group ID is like the overall thing, like globally scoped projects. Yeah, just put code boost, and artifact ID put rest practice.
Okay.
All right. Just hit Control Save and let it build.
I did that.
All right.
That's supposed to show up.
Let me see. Maybe it stays red. All right. And another dependency, we're gonna import the test ng dependency. So copy pasted that as well.
So I put that right here, right?
Yeah,
Oh, what the hell?
probably copy the whole message.
Oh, I see what I did. Alright.
So we're putting those two new dependencies that you posted, right?
Yeah, I mean TestNG you're used to. The new one is the rest
Yeah.
assured one. Yeah. Alright, now go to hit save, and then create a new execute class inside the source folder.
Wait, in the source folder, make an execute class?
Yeah. Oh, I think you need to create a file first. Oh yeah, go inside test in Java, and then inside there, create one. Yeah, there you go. Alright, I just want to make sure the annotation works, so use your standard @test annotation, and surround it like you regularly would with the method. Capital T. Alright, let's see if hover over @test and let's see if it lets you import it. Click on that red bulb. No, hang on. Okay. Add TestNG to class path, yeah. See if that worked.
Import class?
Yeah, let's try that. Alright,
there you go.
Alright, cool. One more thing. Type in one more thing. I just want to be 100% sure because I don't want to be a problem later. Type in just type in that and see if it lets you import it right after you type it. Inside the function block.
Oh.
Alright, hover over it. Hover over rest assured. Import class. Alright, we should be good. Yeah, okay. An importer for you. Alright, we'll get back to you in a bit.
Do I delete this?
Yeah, you could delete it. I just wanted to make sure everything imports because I'm not used to IntelliJ. Alright, I'll share my screen. Alright, so today we'll go over a bit of the automation part of what we went over yesterday. So what I kind of wanted to find a good way, the best way to approach this. So today's going to be kind of quick because I want you to experiment with the library yourself. I'll give you the high level overview of it. But mainly I want you to get good at experimenting with the library. You'll hit a bunch of errors, but I'll give you a quick set of homework problems and that'll let you really, try to flex out the skills for the library. Because a lot of programming is just, finding out how a library works. And you can't really get good at that just by, watching a lecture or reading the documentation. You guys kind of go through the trial error approach. But once you get good at it, it'll become second nature. Just like you guys could, write scripts at this point, it should get to that point. But let me just quickly review yesterday what we did. So I introduced you to this API someone created. So yesterday's lesson was more important than this one. Today, since I'm only going over the library, yesterday, you guys had a bunch of questions, and to really understand what an API is and how it works, that was the important part. So that we kind of cleared. So just to review, someone created this website, and just like I said yesterday, the website has its own API you use to visit it, and then you get an HTML file, which you should know by now. From yesterday's lesson, that's how web pages work. You fetch them, and we saw that we could do with the. Let me pull it up. We saw that even your terminal comes built in with a curl program, right? And that acts as like a primitive type of browser, if you want to look at it that way, where it doesn't show the GUI, but it returns, an HTML that curl uses to just display what it is. It doesn't. The actual terminal doesn't know how to process it, but our browsers come in with an engine that takes that HTML and produces what you see here, all the layouts, the fonts, and everything. But the terminal can't do it, and so that's the component for the URL where you visit something and you get an index, right? But then we went over the actual API of the web app, where if any time you create, like I used Amazon as an example, like to actually fetch from Amazon's database from where, let's say you search up a PS5, you need to know if they have PS5s in stock. And to do something like that, the actual developers, the front-end developers, they use the APIs that the back-end developers created, right? And they use the APIs to fetch PlayStations or whatever products you need. And after they get that information, that comes prepackaged as something like this. Well, not like that, but hang on. You get a response like this. In this case, it's just a simple token. But what Amazon probably gets is like an image file, the product name, how many there are, and that the front-end developers take and produce on the actual web page. And these are just a bunch of examples like we went through, all examples of the responses. Like if you appeal to the API, what's coming out from it, right? There's one here so this is basically a whole hotel booking app, kind of, if you want to look at it that way, where you book someone with their API. And you saw it, we used Postman, but we could have used a terminal for the exact same thing. Where is it? So we could use the terminal where we use the curl command and put in this, like I copy paste this, I can copy paste that, and this, as long as there's no token for create, there's no token, and I could put something like Fahim Chowdhury right here, and in his database there's going to be a Fahim Chowdhury, and the response is just to say, all right, it just spits out and tells you what just happened. Usually it could be nothing, but the developer obviously wanted you to know, to give you a prompt that this worked, right? What I mean by that is I could hit enter right now with this request I just created. If I hit enter, like right now, right? This could have been nothing at all, but then I wouldn't have known if it would worked, right? He could have just printed out and give me a message back saying, all right, it worked, but that might not have been descriptive enough. Maybe I want to see how it actually looks in the back end. So the developer was like, right, you give me this API, you tell me what you pass in, and I'll pass you back what exactly you did, just so you know not only that it worked, but exactly what your data looks like in the back end. Like this is what that data that you put in, that's what it looks like in his database, right? So if I wanted to fetch it, like right after I did it, I can. So that's that. And there are different methods to it. And Fa, you asked what patch is yesterday. So the major difference between patch and post, because post you put in a new set of data. Patch, put. The main difference is between put. Where is it? So you got your update booking, which is a put request, right? And that versus a patch request is just a patch. Usually you use when you just want to update a few sets, like first name and last name. But if you want to update the entire set, first, last, price, deposit, paid, booking dates, you usually want to register that as a put request. That tells the database that your intention is to completely overhaul the data. But that's the major thing, and there's a delete.
Wait, say that again.
Yeah. So, how the database, like, so let's go to create. Say again.
Yeah, no, I know. Put like you replace like a value or something, and then what does patch do again?
Right. So let me take that from the beginning. So let me even go all the way back to the GET request. The GET request is what?
get return the value of like our booking or whatever.
Right. You use the index like right here. You tell the database the index you want to use. In this
Yeah.
case, you want to say, all right, give me whoever is in that index 1, right, or 13 or whatever, right, and that'll give you whoever's registered in that index, right. Someone had already put in Sally Brown, and that's what you'll get for, I guess if it was 1, yeah. So if I put in this request, where is it? This request, I'd get Sally Brown, right? So that's get. Keep that in your mind. Next is create booking, right? And that's the post request. So like you just use like mnemonics. It kind of makes sense, right? Get, you want to fetch something. Post, you want to put it inside the database, and that's if you want to create a new set of data, right? Put is like you saw here for create booking. In order to fully register this entire data set, you need to put in the first name, last name, price, deposit, booking dates, additional details, and a lot of times you don't have to put in each one, but that's up to the developer. Like if each of these were registered as like required, then you would not be able to finish this post request up without including every single detail, right? But say again.
Is that the same for get? Like, can you like get only one thing? Like, can I get like the last name only of someone instead of like their first name, last name, total price, checkout, check-in?
Right. So that's usually up to the developer. If they put in something additional here, which I don't see, no, that's a good point. You have to put in a parameter extra that I don't see here. So basically what I mean by that is the backend developer has to have provided something for you here that you could, you know how like in a terminal, sometimes you have a command that you have like a dash command.
Yeah.
The developer has to have put in something there for you to actually have fetched it solely the data. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
And also there's queries, but we haven't gone over that just yet. I'll go over that if I have time, but right now just worry about the actual path parameters.
Okay.
Yeah. So you got your get, you got your create, you got your update. So this is where we get into the put request. That's when usually what it means is you want to change every single set, right? Or you could keep some, but you want to basically you're ordered to mention every single one, and the ones you don't want to mess around with you leave as is, right? And the ones you do want to update, you update, right? But mostly you just want to patch it, right? Which just means, all right, you use the index value, right? So in here he mentions 1, and just you could have put in just first name, right? You didn't even have to put last name, but first name just tells you, all right, I just want to update this to whatever it was. Just call it James now. That makes sense.
So put can't do that. Like do like 3 things at once. It can only do one thing.
So depending on how the developer made it, usually it's synonymous. So you can do it with put, but patch, it gives you a more specific, like if someone were to read your logs, they'd know exactly what you're doing, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. And delete, that speaks for itself. You just mentioned the index, and it deletes whatever profile is in that index. But that's kind of what we went over yesterday. And we looked over, how to do it with the curl commands here. So that's one way of doing it. But you guys saw that, and and then we used Postman, but you guys saw that it was all the same thing. Like if I made a change here to the database, like if I took index 1 and updated that to the first name, if I updated that to Ish, I could have, whatever I had here, if I call in that same index value, you would have seen Ish here, right? So it's all appealing to the same database. It's just, Postman makes it look a lot, neater. And you could, Postman is its own thing. Like a lot of jobs even concerns are almost entirely around Postman. Although eventually you're ordered to automate. But let's say you're getting a project off the ground, it's usually a good place to start. You don't have to create a whole framework. You just start slowly, and then once you're ready to scale up, that's when you go over to what we're gonna go over today. But other than
Postman's
that,
not.
wait,
apps.
Berm, you're cutting out. Say it again.
I said Postman's for websites, correct? Not for apps.
It's the
Can you
same.
use it for apps?
It's not for what?
Can you use it for apps?
Yeah, if like if it depends if whoever made the app exposes the AI. I mean, exposes the API. So what I'm saying, what I mean by that is like suppose you have Facebook on your phone, right? Facebook uses an API just like the Facebook webpage uses an API, right? So if I wanted to test the Facebook API, I just need to make sure, well, Facebook just needs to make sure it's exposed. You get what I'm saying? Like, so the front end of Facebook for your mobile phone is still using the same API, even if it's a mobile or a, website. But the main point is, if I'm working with purely the API, I don't have to worry about what the front end looks like. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, but going back to it, like if you're a back-end tester, you really don't have to worry about what any of this looks like because you're just going to be worried about the API and the responses. That's all you got to care about. You don't have to worry about any of the front-end details. But if we don't have any more questions, I'm going to start on today's topic. So you guys good with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
All right. So today is gonna be quick, like I said before, because I want you to really experiment with this library, and mainly it's because the library is actually very simple in that you don't have to use an initial class. Like you guys saw, I typed rest assured in FOSS-Machine, and after you click dot on it, it gives you all these sorts of options. I'm just gonna guide you along, but I want you to really experiment with it, see what works, see what doesn't. So let me make sure this is the right one, and let me import that thing from Teams. All right, I'll save that. And I'll create my own execute class. And so I'm just gonna, let me bring that up. So I'm just gonna go down this basically. But the homework will be different. It won't concern this. This I want you to practice with on your own, definitely, but the homework is gonna do its own thing. But just keep in mind that all of these work while they work. When I say they work, what I mean by that is you get the expected response. But the homework problems I gave you, or I'm going to give you, don't expect the API to respond, give you correct values. But that's when this comes in handy. You're supposed to expect failure cases. So to start, we're gonna automate the auth token. And if you remember the auth token, what it was is, take yourself through a simple login scenario. If you enter the correct login details, what you should get as a response is a token. And that token, basically, once you're logged in, it lets you visit all kinds of pages. Otherwise, you would not have access to, for instance, in Amazon, you wouldn't have access to the account details page, tailored for you, right? Your profile, clearly. You need a token for that regularly your browser holds. But in this case, because we're not dealing with browsers, we're gonna have to copy and paste it directly. But remember, you're still in Java, so you could trap this into a variable and use it in subsequent requests. But let me continue, so you have a visual of it. So I'm gonna call it auth token. And in the top, I'm going to put, the standard details, like, let's call it herokuapp.com. So this is the base URL, and where I got that from is simply this. Like this is called the base URI. Meaning this leads to everything else. This leads to the index HTML. This also is the base for like all the APIs, right? So I'll leave it there because I'm just going to add on to it. And I'm also going to put the token, and I'm going to put that in a variable here because I'm expecting to after I generate the token, it's going to be here to use in subsequent methods. All right. So this is the basic idea behind Rest Assured. So let me import it for myself. Give me a second. This is just to kick off the import because I don't want to type it in myself. Okay, so the good thing with Cucumber is you'll see that Rest Assured and Cucumber are not related at all. Well, they use a similar kind of protocol, the behavior-driven protocol, and you'll see what I mean by behavior-driven is you'll see that it uses given, which you're used to. You saw that in Cucumber. It uses when, it uses then. So this is like a paradigm if you want to think of it that way. Given is what? Like, just describe it what you think given is and what's the difference between when and what's the difference between then. Like in Cucumber, what did given usually let us do? What did when and then?
Like thumbs up, whatever the test I got.
Right, exactly. Right. So you could already imagine given would probably include like, the URL setup, your tokens, your username and passwords. It's pretty much the very same framework. So the actual execution command is going to get kind of complicated, but once it gets complicated, just keep these in mind. And a good way to do it, and the good thing we did before is we introduced method chaining, and we did that ourselves. We created it ourselves, which you saw from the design pattern section of the course. So this shouldn't be so foreign, right? This idea of like this returns a object that this uses, and this returns an object that this uses, then this, and that's how this works. So keep that in mind, and a good way to structure this so you know where each portion of it is in the beginning, but this is more of a stylistic choice, is to do it this way, and I'll show you what the merits of it are. So given, just like Fa was saying, you want to have the setup ready, right? So you see how I tabbed it right there. Don't that's just for you guys. Like, you don't have to do it that way, but remember, spaces don't matter in Java, so just keep that in mind. So the first method is this, and as I'm typing out, I won't talk as much right now, but just remember there are multiple ways of doing it. Like, so I'll use the base URI method right here, but there are other ways to do it. But let me continue. So I took that URL, and then it goes right to when. So this you could assume right away that I'm ready with the URL. So when. So let me also keep this in mind because this is important. So I'm just copying this. I'm just doing it in the way that Rest Assured is used to. So what this structure here is called is the body. Like if I go down here, it highlights it for you, right? There's certain content types, which I'll leave out for now just to show you, if anything happens, if this is necessary or not. But I could specify the content type if I want, but let me try with just the username and password and see if that works. So you got your body, right? And this is called a payload, right? So this you should also keep in mind. So the payload just consists of data you want to pass into the API, right? So let me first put that in a string. And this is how you usually want to do it. If you type it directly in Eclipse, it gets very confusing. What I mean by that is anytime you want to put an extra a double quotes, like this, since it's in a string, you have to do it this way, right? Which gets really confusing if you, try it yourself, you'll see how confusing it gets. So instead of doing that, just open your text edit and do it here, and then copy paste it directly. And you'll see how it changes right away, right after I paste it. So this is how the structure of the payload is gonna look. It's very, very simple. So yeah, I'm just copying and pasting exactly how it is. So all it is just a simple thing, a JSON object. So you got your username, colon, admin, comma. So you'll get used to how JSON looks, but just keep watching. Always remember your double quotes, and let me know if you want me to. Just trying to zoom in. All right. Hopefully this doesn't matter if, actually let me redo it. Admin. Password. Password 123. This, right? That's really simple. You can clearly see, right? But watch what happens if I copy and paste it here. Look at all this. There's a thing denoting end of line. Really difficult. And like I said before, there's a thing. What do you call it? Backward diagonal, just to indicate that there's a double quotes in here. But just for your own sanity, just put it in a separate file. But keep in mind, like remember last time I put it in notes and Bernd pointed out that the quotes look different and that screwed up the code. So keep that in mind and just use TextEdit, because unlike notes, it doesn't change stuff around. All right. So body, again, body right here, it gets the admin. It gets the username and password. So let me just put that in. I could put that here directly, but I'll put the payload in here. So when is the actual action portion of it? So rest assured, .given, I got the URL, right? Because something has to indicate my actual visiting to the URL. I gave it the body and the payload, which is it's expecting. Now it's ready to do something with it, right? So you post, right? That's one of the 4 commands we went over: post, patch, get, and put. Remember that, right? And since this is post right here, this is the way curl did it, but this is the way we do it in rest assured, right? So post. So this accepts a string, right? So looking at everything we've typed out so far, and if I'm telling you the post command demands a string, what do you think I put in here? Look at this and look at this and look at what we passed in so far. Remember, this is a URL so far, so look at this and see what we're missing, and that whatever we're missing here is what we'll put here. But what is that thing?
What's the question again?
So you got my URL, right? This is the URL. We put that, we loaded this up in base URI. So take my word that this, at the very least, we're appealing to the API. The base URI, we need to use everything here, right? Mm-hmm. So that works. What I'm trying to do is get the auth token, right? And right here, what you have here, this method is how we get that auth token, right? We want this response, right? We want to get whatever token it is, we want to get it as a response, right? But what I'm asking is, we got a bunch of the information. We have the payload, which includes the username and password, and we fed it into the body, right? Using this structure so far. So far, we got the payload in, we got the URI in, and now I'm telling you it's a post request because that's how the developer intended this API to be. It's a post request, right? So we got your post, and I'm telling you it accepts a string to complete the request, right? I'm telling you what do you think goes in here? Look at this carefully.
Does the token go in?
Which token?
The one that you, the auth token?
Yeah, but I didn't generate the auth token yet, right? Because remember, how we did it here, what I mean, let me show you again. Right? So to generate the auth token here, I had to copy paste this, and this is the curl way of doing it, but we're not using curl anymore, right? I copied and pasted here, I hit enter, and then it returned the auth token, right? But that's through the terminal and that's through the curl program, right? I don't want to use the curl program. I want to do that exact same thing over here.
You do the that link with the
Tell me, yeah.
kuapp.com/auth?
Yep. Wait, you said KUM?
No, I don't know how to Booker dot. Hero.
Oh, Heroku app. You're right. You're getting there. Heroku is already here, right? So what's the only thing I'm missing?
Auth.
Right.
Slash auth.
Right. Exactly. That's it. Right. So what Fa says is we're gonna post this in, right? Because in order to differentiate the the APIs, it's gonna be this portion, the path portion, right? Because look, all the APIs have different, path portions. Because that, how else are you gonna differentiate between the two, right? You do it through this appending right here, right? And in order to use the create auth token, we got to use this to use that post request, right? So this, so if you want to think of it this way, just think we want to append something to here, right? So let's do that. Auth, right? And what then does, so now we have the request ready, right? What then does, and I won't go over too much of it because I want you guys to experiment with it, but if I hit dot, I see a bunch of things here, which you can, you can see what happens with it. But the main thing is I want to be able to log it. Like just how print line and everything, system.out.println logs it in the console right here. I wanted to do the same thing. But if I ever wanted to do something, specific, I could do it this way. But for now, I'll just do log dot all. And you see if I hit under log, there's a bunch of other options besides all, right? Maybe I just want to look at the cookies. Maybe I just want to see the body of it, or they have a bunch of options, right? But I just want to see everything, right? And if you want to see what the difference is between each of these methods, you can try it out yourself. But for now, let's just let it run. So this, just give that a look, and this is the basic structure of Rest Assured, right? It's always just you're appealing to Rest Assured, this library, and you're running various commands against it, right? So let's let this run. All right, so this passed. Oh no, it didn't pass. The actual command passed, but I have an assert statement. But I got bad credentials, so let me figure that out. Bad credentials.
It might be the comma thingy again. I had to change all the commas.
Oh, you're doing it while it worked.
Yeah,
for
that
you?
was.
Berm, it worked for you?
Yeah, mine passed.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. You're good. You're doing it the same.
Commas. So, yeah, I mean the not the commas, the whatever quotation thingies.
Which one did you delete?
I just deleted all of them and wrote it in again. On mine, I was getting a bunch of red lines. That's why you're not getting any red lines. So I don't know.
All right. Let me see. Try one more time. Let me see. I got another set of data I have written out, pre-written out. Let me just copy paste that and see if it worked.
Oh wait, no. I'm sorry. I got bad credentials as well. I thought you were looking at if it failed or not.
Oh.
I got bad credentials too.
Oh no, I know what I did. Okay, so this I see. I forget it too. All right, so let me run it one more time, and I'll show you guys where it kind of messed up. So I'm gonna hit run, and still bad credentials. So I copy pasted this. Everything is fine right here, right? But what did I leave out that I told you guys I'd leave out? So
ID
over here.
Oh,
So look at what I've, so request, I fulfilled that, right? I got my username, I got my password, right? But what else do you see here? So it's this right here, the header, right? So basically what the header is, and I forgot it to myself. So your body, what I told you guys before was the format for this is called the JSON format, right? But if we look it up, and we could look it up right now. So we could look up content type options, right? If I click this, well, let me see if there's a better. So I don't see a good kind of display of the other options, but a lot of times you might not be wanting to send a JSON, right? And you'll see in the request down below, sometimes it's not specified, but instead of JSON, if I don't specify it with a header, sometimes it defaults to something else. So it's usually better to specify it. So another thing you want to kind of check out. But in order to specify the content type, it's really simple. There's a method for content type, right? And just like they put it in here, where they specified application /JSON. So when you're doing this, use this website. So I'll copy paste this. So you also always have access to the docs. Just keep that in mind and go through it. But basically, you just specify application JSON, right? And now let's try it. So now it works, right? So it just needed that specification, because if you don't specify where it is, it's just gonna pick a random one, right? And basically the backend isn't able to, if you don't specify this as a JSON, it's gonna assume it's something else. And obviously if you process this, it's gonna look like something jumbled, right? And a header could specify, all right, I'm sending an image as an example. I'm sending something else or whatever. That's not a JSON object, right? If it thinks it's an image, it's gonna process it that way, and then it's gonna tell the backend, it's gonna give some kind of like garbled code, right? And obviously this looks nothing like the credentials it was asking for, right? And so you got to specify exactly what you're sending. So just keep that in mind. But again, this content, like, look, I could have done it this way. You see how I did it in the second line? This is the kind of beauty of method chaining. It reads like you could do it. Hang on, what I just did. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so the beauty of method chaining is you could switch the orders around, but let me hit run. So the idea is it just reads like natural language, right? And you could do it any way you want. Just as long as the given statements, rest on the given, and the when statements rest. So, after when, I could have put get, put, post. It would have all been the same, right? So we got our auth token. So let's move down.
So when you run it, what happens? No, I'm getting a failure.
Did you put in the application /JSON?
Oh, put dot instead of /.
Yeah, keep that in mind.
All right, mine worked.
Yeah. All right.
Wait, no, I'm still getting bad credentials. What the hell?
Are you?
Yeah, whatever.
Try I would copy paste this into Teams, but Teams gonna mess it up even more. So when you get the chance, I don't know if you already did it this way, but just type it out that way in text edit and then make a new payload. It's usually the payload. Even if you screw up even a bit of this format, it's gonna give you bad credentials. Just give me a second. Alright. So
those are colons, right? Not semicolons?
Yeah, these are colons. Yep. Alright, let's go to the next one. I'll skip this because this gets a bunch of IDs. I'm more interested in getting the individual booking IDs, so you could see if your names. Once you choose to create once you create your names, you could get them as well. So let's do. Let's do get booking. So I'm going to keep introducing new methods here and there, right? But it's all going to follow that specific structure. So, assume slow ones start trickling in, right? So again, rest assured. All right. Rest assured that given, and I'll type in everything first, so you're used to this format, right? And then we'll see what the givens are. So just like before, you got your base URI. Let me let it type it out. Base URI, right? Just like there. I'm just choosing to use that first, and now I'll put in the content. You know what? Let me actually do it exactly as is here, so you're not. Application JSON base URI, and we use the URL that's already linked above. Dot. Let me see. Right. So for this is specific because this is not asking for a body, right? So let's compare the two. I'll use this. So what was it? So there was a create token that requested a body, but if I go down to get booking, there's no body. So let me even, just so you're aware, let me put them in the new window, just so we can compare the two. So here I got get booking, and here's create token. And you can see right from the curl command, this is requesting a whole body with the -d, and this isn't. And you see headers. You see the headers, but there's no request body for get booking, right? So we could ignore that. So I'll go to when for now, and if I need to, I'll return back to given. And for this, since I'm just gonna assume for now this is exactly as is from above. So the only thing I'm gonna change is whatever's in when. All right. So what's the main thing that's different from the auth URL for this? It's this, right? The ID portion. And based on the IDs you throw in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's gonna return, whatever the person there belonged to, right? So if I put in 1, it would be whoever was in it, and it would be Sally Brown here. But 13, like you saw before, it gave us back one of our names after we put it in, right? So we have to account for this. So we have, we have that URL ready, but we have to account for this part. Right? And we can't, with how rest assured works, we can't include it directly in the URL. So this is how we handle that. So now I'm making a get request, because again, this is a get request. So instead of post, which you saw with the the token command, we're using get. And we're gonna pass it here. So what do you think I put in get? The string in get, just like enter this, just like you entered this. Faucet this.
/ID.
Say again.
/ID.
Yeah, very close. So since this is a specific type
you put a value in.
No, not a value just yet, right? Because you want to be able to pass whatever values you want, right? You still have to find it, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But for now, you still need some kind of representation telling the program that watch out for this. This is not a regular path, right? Because look, this doesn't have a colon in it, right? And it's a part of the path. But for this, for get booking, you want to be able to pass any type of number in, and it should recognize that you're doing as such, right? So yeah, it's ID. But you have to specify it with the bracket. That's the only difference, or whatever you call this, right? So now the whole command knows that at the end of whatever URL you passed, there's a component, this component, where you get to pass, numbers in it, or whatever. It could be a string, a number, whatever, doesn't matter. That it should expect it, right? So now we got that kind of skeleton down. Now this is the way you pass specific, IDs to it, right? In the given, you specify your path parameters. That's what you call it. So under given, I'll put path params with a plural. And let me see. There's a bunch of ones. I don't want to use this. Path params. So I want to use this, but you can experiment with the rest. But for now, I'm just going to use that first one right there. So I know you haven't seen it in this API spec right here, but you could have multiple types of paths. There could have been another like / I don't know, colon, something else like, I don't know, gender or something like that, right? But in here it's ID, so you specify what it is, ID, and you specify the specific one right here. So in here we use 1, and now this is good to go. So let's let that run. Let's see, not found. It's fine. Let's try another one. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I missed something. All right, so let's see if anyone can get exactly what went wrong. So anything you notice in addition, remember, we're still appealing to this one URL, right? Anything I missed?
Payload?
Where do you see that?
The other one doesn't have payload in the body?
Right, but remember, we're using the specific API that doesn't need a payload, right? It doesn't have a body thing to it, right? Like going back to get token, you see a request body, right?
Yeah.
But in get booking, there's no request body, so we're good. We don't need a payload. But look at that URL for a second. What's missing?
The ID, right?
We included the ID here, right? So we're good for that. What else are we missing? It's easy
Colon?
Huh? No,
Colon?
No, we got the. Well, actually, yeah, you're right. I think.
Slash?
Yeah, you're right about that. Let me just put that in. But there's one more thing. Actually, let me not put it there. I'll put it here for now. It's easy to miss. So we got the ID, and we got this, right? We got this, and we got the ID, but what are we missing? Look at that carefully.
Booking.
Yep, booking, that's it. Because you gotta be really careful, because if you don't specify the exact path, it could be anything, right? And here's 2 instances of booking, but the other ones use auth, etc., right? Just gotta be really careful. Right.
Do you have to make another string?
We can, but a good way to do it is just to treat. Remember, this is a regular string, right? So why not just add booking to it, right? And I'll take this out because we. Well, I could do this, right? Because the ID still goes there, so just visualize it. HerokuApp.com, right here, / right here, booking / ID, or you could have done it whatever way you want, but this just looks a little better. So let's just run this. Yep, then you got the whoever was in here, and let's even put 5, see what comes up. Let's see what 5 is. Mary Smith. All right, so that's get booking. Now we'll try. Hang on. Now we'll try update booking. Or let's do partial update. Let me see if there's anything, because entire payload I don't want to type it all out because that would require a little too much. Yeah, let me not do the entire thing. So let's say partial update booking. And you can try the entire update booking if you want, but this would be a patch request, right? So again, rest assured, not given, and put everything standard. And oh, my bad. You should always seek to find a way to even condense this if you want, right? Remember, since we're using TestNG, don't forget about your before methods, your after methods. So if you ever see repetition, I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes, but once you're actually in the field, you should be able to condense this or find a way to condense it, because your main job eventually is just to make this efficient and not have to, even now you shouldn't have to type all of it out, right? I'm just showing it for demo purposes. So you got your base URI, you got the URL, you got content type.
It was like page object model, or that's not really possible with this type of thing?
that doesn't apply here really, right? Because this is kind of different, where you have to worry about APIs. So yeah, the page object model doesn't really apply here.
Okay.
This is more, you remember that thing we went on, we went in with design patterns, and we talked about that fluent method chaining thing. This is more akin to that. So this is already pretty efficient in itself, so it's really good to experiment with this, but you should always think about if there's a better way to wrap it around, even if it doesn't fit any predefined pattern. If you find a way to condense it, go for it. Just keep it in mind. Yeah. So I'm going down to partial update booking. So in this, again, this has a body, right? Just like that create token. But the only difference here that you should take note of is this takes a token, and this is a part of the header, as indicated here by thing -h. This is one of the many headers. Just like we put the header here for content type, cookies is also another way to save token. So basically, anytime you visit a page after you log in, that's what you guys have heard about cookies. That's what cookies are. Like once you log in, your browser stores cookies in your local machine, whatever token thing the website generated for you. And anytime you go into a separate web page within the web app, like Amazon, you go to your account details, it verifies it against the token, right? But in this case, we don't have web browsers because we're using code. So let me just put in the when and the then. All right. So just like here, where we specified the body, we're gonna put that inside under the given statement, right? So let's try that. So in here we need a payload to even put in, right? And I'll copy paste here this here because I already had it pre-written. So now I'm just putting in. I'm just updating one of the fields they already have, and so I'll probably take the index of, I guess, I don't know. So what I'll do, and I'll show you guys, the step-by-step scenario, and we're gonna end it here after this because I want you to, experiment with the other ones for yourself. I want you to experiment with delete, But after these main ones, you should have all that you need to do that yourself, right? Because I do want you to experiment. So, but I'll show you how it works, because remember, keep in mind that I generated the auth token here, and get booking, I didn't need the auth token to run this. But for partial update booking, I'm gonna need the auth token that I generated here. So we gotta figure out how to do that, right? So so let me put the payload in, and remember, this is a patch request. Okay, so what do we put in here? So just like this, I want to structure it a very similar way, right? So for the base URL, let's do the exact same thing, where we put the booking over here, right? So in the URI, let me put that in. So I'm really just copy and pasting what I put here, so I don't have to do it again, right? Only difference is this one is, hang on. This also takes a path parameter, right, over here. Oh no, I'm looking at something else. I'm looking at delete booking. But yeah, this also, nonetheless, this also takes a path parameter, so that's fine. So I know I'm gonna need path parameters, so might as well put it in, right? So that also went under given. I'll use that first one, and we'll say ID, and let me see. So we'll keep it at 5, right? So how about we get booking, and then we update it, and then we get it again and see if that worked, right? So let's put that here. Okay. Give me a second. And yeah, so this also requires that token, and in order to get that token, use the header under the given. So any APIs that require that token aspect to it, in order to add this component, where curl you just use this. This is the variant of how Rest Assured does it. So use your dot header. You specify which header. In this case, it will be cookie. And here you further specify the cookie, and that takes a token. And we'll put the token here to override that one we have globally scoped. And I'll tell you why. So this, I'll just refer to that token. Right, so that refers to here, and we're just gonna pass this after this appends it. But we don't have anything ready to append just yet, right? So in here we'll put .log .all. Right. So the question is what we put in here. What do you think it is? What do you think I put in the patch? So look at partial update booking. What do you think I put in patch? And look at what we did in get booking. Right above.
ID.
Yeah, say it.
Get ID.
Well,
Get ID.
not get, right? Because this partial
Oh.
update booking is a patch request, right? Which we specified here. Say again?
The patch ID, right?
Yeah, patch then this, right? It's not the same exact thing because we got the ID here, and just like get booking, it has ID in the same exact area, right? Same exact thing. Don't overthink it. So let me put that ID over here. All right, and we're ready to go. So I got the only thing I changed. Oh, I just need the token, right? So for now, let me make it empty. So obviously that's not going to work because I don't have a token ready. But let's generate that token using this because we know it already works, right? So let me run that. And another thing you should be thinking of is how do I do all this without having to run this manually and copy and pasting, right? For now, I'll just delete it. And what I just posted, you can't do this alone because you could try it and mean that you could try to put it in here and try to run this right after, but it won't work, and I'll leave you to find out why. So I'll copy this and I'll put that token in here, and after that this should be good to run. So let's check what we just did before we run it. Given base URI booking partial update, we just appended this. That's all that is so far. Path parameters ID, we specified the ID, but in order to actually specify to the URI that it requires it, that's what this is here for, right? The ID. And we're passing in the number 5. So whatever 5 used to get, I'm replacing that with my name, right? So let's run it.
Wait, where did you get the token again?
So yeah, I got you. So it worked, but let me go back to it. The token I got, because remember, this is still making the run. So I hit this run first, right? I let this run, so just, pay attention.
You get the token.
Yeah, so I let it run. And because of this log command and this all command, it's giving me the entire body of the response, right? So let me see. You see this body of this response, right? And this is how they showed it in the documentation after you run it through the curl command. It looks very similar, right? It's almost the exact same thing, but we're missing a few details because here they didn't specify it. Here, since we did .log.all, it does specify it, right? After that, I copied this. I pasted this, so this is going to be old now. So I just paste it here, right? And since partial update requires that token, you need to update it, right? But you can do that. You should do that, and I'll leave that up to you, where you do it dynamically, right? So I shouldn't have to run this and then run this, but I'll leave you to figure that out. So I hit run. And that updates it, right? So let's try with a different one. So let's say, first let's see what's at number 10. So this is get booking. I'm using the ID and I'm hitting run. So let's see whose name there is. So I got a Susan Erickson, right? And I want to change that. And let me screenshot it just so we're in the where, and I'll pull that up. So this is how it was. And I'm trying to update it, but I still need my auth token, right? So right now, this is all I ran. Now I'll run this. I got my auth token, copy this, paste it here. And the only thing I want to change is the first name and last name and the additional needs. Actually, let me even take this out. Let me not change the additional needs to dinner. It doesn't even have it actually. But this, I'm saying total price, deposit paid, booking dates, that should stay same, right? So let me let that run. Alright, and that's what I got. Let me see, I got a bad request, so that probably screwed something up. Oh, I didn't specify the 10. Because that was a 10. Alright, let me try that again.
You gotta do the whole thing now?
Oh, you don't have to. I just choose to. But we could try with that same token from before. Alright, let me let that run. Let me see if I put that 10. I guess I'll take this out now. Okay. Still a bad request. Let me leave that additional needs in and see if that works. Alright, so I guess additional needs is a required command. But you could see that the first name updated, the last name updated, right? My names. Total price stayed the same. Deposit paid is false. Check-in and checkout dates are the same things, right? So that's basically all you need. Because if you go down to delete booking, that also requires a token ID. So use that. You could get it from this, and also find a way to use the rest of TestNG where you're not having to continuously run this and then do it manually. You should be able to run down each of your test steps in a single go. So I should be able to hit run all, and everything should be able to pass, right? But at this stage, you guys should be well versed enough with TestNG to do it yourself. Any other questions? Obviously, you got Teams, so anytime you have a question, you're gonna hit a lot of errors, FYI. So don't worry about that. Just make sure to use Teams, and I'm always available. So, but this is kind of the majority of what you'll need. And I'll paste.
So what additional needs? Like, why did you need that?
Hang on. Say again?
Why do you think you needed that additional needs line?
It's most likely it was a required field, I'm thinking. But let me see.
Give
me a second. Let me see. That's a good question.
Actually, it doesn't say optional on get booking, but it says optional on partial update booking.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let me see. Let me actually try something. I'll use one of your names. That's Rahman. What am I doing? Okay, I'm mixing up your names. Yeah. So I think it's probably most likely something here got botched. But let me try that. And we'll use a different one this time. So I'll use 2. Let me run this, get whatever is there, which is another Susan Erickson, except this one has a price of $172. So let me take a picture of that. And now I'll use the same one. And ideally, I should only update the first name and last name, and I shouldn't have a bad request. So let me run that. Yep, that's it. That's why I keep telling you guys. Like I try to do it myself through Eclipse, but that really muddles it. So just open text edit and do it.
What was the issue again?
So basically, what happened is before I just I had an additional needs line, right, and I just crossed it out. So I think the actual result of doing that must have slightly tweaked the payload, right? And that even if there's even a 1 space off, a lot of times that messes up the entire thing. You get what I'm saying?
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah,
So
the comma or whatever.
Yeah. It most likely it was the comma, right? So I just did it here because in actuality, typing out a JSON is really simple, right? But if you copy and paste it, it's going to make your life a lot easier. So that's all I changed. I knew additional needs wasn't, naturally needed, right? So that was all, right? And then you see everything else is the same, right? And I only changed Berman, first name and last name. That's it. What do you guys think? Anything else?
So now, is this changing it? No. Okay. No, I got it. I think it's pretty.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's pretty simple. But once we start doing like, doing this at scale, that's when it gets a little difficult. But for now, just experiment with the bare necessities. Like the good thing about it is after you use rest assured, and then you have your three main commands given, when, and then, and you experiment around with whatever they produce afterwards. Like there's another one. Let me see. Like status codes is something you might want to try. What status code is it gives you a simple code like 200 or 404, and I want you to be able to Google that and find out what each of those means. But just try it, and I'll copy paste exactly the homework that I want you to try it with, and then to actually see the bugs. So try to send responses with empty usernames, invalid usernames. When you're trying to do the create token thing, empty passwords. See what you get. Ideally, you shouldn't. None of these should pass, right? Empty username. You shouldn't be able to create a token with them. If it does, that means there's a problem with the API. But that's what you should log. And also use assert, right? Find out how to use that. Just keep that in mind.
Sorry.
Yeah. But other than that, we should be good. This covers mainly what you need, but to do the homework, you gotta be a little more. Gotta experiment with it a bit more. But other than that, we're good to go.
All right. Cool.
All right.
All right.